you have a quorum, so at this point you can start the meeting, and the minutes will reflect when Gabriel comes in the building.
All right, in that case, I will go ahead and begin tonight's meeting by calling it to order. This is the regular meeting of the Pinole Planning Commission of April 14th, 2025. You can attend in person by being at the Pinole City Council Chambers, 2131 Pear Street, or by Zoom teleconference. Details should be shown on your screen. The webinar ID number is 865-053-75301, and the hyperlink is https://us02web.zoom.us/j/865-053-75301. You can also join by phone at 1-669-900-6833 or 1-253-215-8782 or 1-346-248-7799. Speakers will be asked to provide their name and city of residence, although providing this is not required for participation. Each speaker will be afforded up to 5 minutes to speak. Speakers will be muted until their opportunity to provide public comment. When the chair opens the comment period for the item you wish to speak on, please use the raise hand feature or press *9 if connecting by telephone, which will alert staff that you have a comment to provide, and press *6 to unmute. To comment with your video enabled, please let staff know that you would like to turn your camera on once you are called to speak. If you would like to submit a written comment, please submit it to planning staff before the meeting via email to dhanham@pinole.gov. Please include your full name, city of residence, and the agenda item you are commenting on. You can also watch the meeting live on Channel 26, where it will be retelecast the following week. You can find the schedule for that on the SAGE website at pinole.gov. It's also video streamed live on the SAGE website at pinole.gov and will remain archived there for 5 years. If none of those options are available to you or you need assistance with public comment, please contact Planning Manager David Hanham at 510-724-8912 or dhanham@pinole.gov. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, if you need special assistance to participate in a city meeting or you need a copy of the agenda or the agenda packet in an appropriate alternative format, please contact the city clerk's office at 510-724-8928. Notification at least 48 hours prior to the meeting or time when services are needed will assist city staff in assuring that reasonable arrangements can be made to provide accessibility to the meeting or service. Staff reports are available for inspection on the city website at pinole.gov. You may also contact the city clerk via email at hbell@pinole.gov. Persons wishing to speak on an item listed on the agenda may do so when the chair asks for comments in favor of or in opposition to the item under consideration. After all of those persons wishing to speak have done so, the hearing will be closed and the matter will be discussed amongst the commission prior to rendering a decision. Any person may appeal an action of the Planning Commission or of the Planning Manager by filing an appeal with the city clerk in writing within 10 days of such action. Following a public hearing, the City Council may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Manager. The cost to appeal a decision is $500 at a minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Note, if you challenge a decision of the Commission regarding a project in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in writing delivered to the City of Pinole at or prior to the public hearing. Ralph M. Brown Act, Government Code, Section 54950. In enacting this chapter, the legislature finds and declares that public commissions, boards, and councils of the other public agencies in this state exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of the law that their actions be taken openly and that their deliberations be conducted openly. The people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over the instruments they have created. And now, if you could please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for our land acknowledgement. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. And now, Mr. Ham, can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Uch,
Here.
Commissioner Huey,
Present.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Present.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Present.
Commissioner Bender,
Present.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Present.
Chair Menace.
Here.
The records show that we have a quorum for tonight's meeting, and we can take action on all items on the agenda.
All right, and before we move on, I should note I had my standard ex parte communications with members of my email list informing them of the items on tonight's agenda. We now have citizens to be heard. The public may address the Planning Commission on items that are within our jurisdiction and not otherwise listed on the agenda. Planning commissioners may discuss the matter brought to their attention, but by state law, the Ralph M. Brown Act, action must be deferred to a future meeting. Time allowed is 5 minutes each. Are there any persons wishing to speak under citizens to be heard? All right, could you go ahead and fill out a yellow comment card when you're done speaking? All right, so there's nobody online, but you wanted to speak, so if you could come to the podium, please?
I'm going to be speaking on part of the agenda.
Oh, okay. My apologies, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
In that case, there being no speakers online and no persons wishing to comment or citizens to be heard in person, I'll close that item. And we'll now move on to the Planning Commission meeting minutes for February 24th, 2025. Do any of the commission members have any modifications they wish to make to the minutes? All right, then I move that we adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of the Pinole Planning Commission for February 24th, 2025.
Did we have a motion and a second?
That is my motion. I
Okay.
do not yet have a second.
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Com-
Mr. Hamm, do you have a comment before the roll call?
Nope. I was
All
waiting
right,
to do
can
roll
we have a
call.
roll call, please?
Commissioner Uch,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Yes.
Chair Menace.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. We are now moving on to our public hearings. At the beginning of an item, the chair will read the description of that item as stated on the agenda. City staff will then give a brief presentation of the proposed project. The commission may then ask staff questions about those items. For those items listed as public hearings, the chair will open the public hearing and ask the applicant if they wish to make a presentation. Those persons in favor of the project will then be given an opportunity to speak, followed by those who are opposed to the project. The applicant will then be given an opportunity for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed, and the commission may discuss the item amongst themselves and ask further questions of staff. The commission will then vote to approve, deny, approve in a modified form, or continue the matter to a later date for a decision. The chair will announce the commission's decision and advise the audience of the appeal procedure. Note, no public hearings will begin after 11 p.m. Items still remaining on the agenda after 11 p.m. will be held over to the next meeting. As the time is currently 7:11 p.m., we're well within that boundary. The first item on our agenda tonight is UP 25-002 Club Pilates, a resolution for a conditional use permit application providing for the establishment of Club Pilates at 2814 Pinole Valley Road. So, Mr. Hannum, if you have a presentation for us.
Oh, yeah. I could take that, Chair Menace.
Certainly, go ahead.
Okay, so the first item for you tonight is a use permit for Club Pilates. This is UP 25-0002. I believe the slides are no longer up, but the proposal is to for approval of a use permit at the other slide set. Great, thank you. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the proposals for a conditional use permit to occupy one of the sites within the Pinole Valley Shopping Center. This is going to be 2814 Pinole Valley Road. The applicant is Melissa Miller from Club Pilates and also Kimberly Fogelman from Cal Helical Solutions. Kimberly's in charge of the improvements that are a part of this project, including the tenant improvements. I believe Melissa might be on this call. Melissa, if you're on Zoom, would you mind just raising your hand? Okay, perfect. So we can bring you up later for your presentation as well. Just a staff overview from the staff report and the analysis of the proposal. The project is in the Pinole Valley Shopping Center. This is an approximately 1,800 square foot tenant space. And it's occupying the space previously occupied by the Jenny Craig. So the proposals for a new Pilates studio that would occupy this space. If we go to the next slide. The location is located within the CMU designation. It's in the service sub-area of the Pinole Valley Road corridor in the 3-corridor specific plan. So it's in one of our specific plan corridor areas. The service sub-area is described here. Based on this location and the zoning designation, the project needed to apply for conditional use permit. It falls under the designation of schools, private, special/studio, which requires a conditional use permit for approval. That designation covers a variety of different uses, including facilities, institutions, conference centers that offer specialized programs in personal growth and development. And examples given are fitness training studios, gymnastics instructions, aerobics and gymnastics studios, environmental awareness, arts, communications, and management. So a variety of different sort of studio and educational and training sort of uses there. As you've noted in this figure as well, and in the staff report, the shopping center as a whole is in the commercial mixed-use zoning designation and land use designation, which allows for a mix of commercial uses as well as potentially residential uses as well. Of course, all the uses within the Pinole Valley Shopping Center are commercial uses. The area in general is commercial mixed use with the exception of office professional mixed use directly across the street, although that property also has commercial uses in it. On the other side of Pinole Creek are single family residential uses, so it's a residential subdivision behind that creek area. So the use would fit within the existing commercial context of this site. If we could go to the next slide, please. The applicant would be able to give you a further explanation of the details on the use, but just the general overview from the staff review. The use is a Pilates studio offering instruction or equipment-based instructor-led Pilates classes of no more than 12 people per class, with sessions being approximately 50 minutes for the class sessions, and for one-on-one private sessions, it's approximately 60 minutes or so. The applicant also mentioned that just based on previous experience, the classes usually aren't filled to capacity, and the average is probably closer to like 8 or 10 attendees per class. The hours presented are as noted and noted in the staff report and documented in the conditions of approval as well. Essentially, these would be 7 days a week. For the weekdays, it starts approximately 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. and ends at approximately 8 or 8:30 p.m. for most days except Friday, with a space in the afternoon time for just administrative and cleaning and other uses for maintenance and upkeep of the use. The applicants indicated that up to 4 employees may be on site at a time, but typically it's about 2 employees or so. And as part of this project, tenant improvements are proposed to the interior of the space in order to accommodate the new proposed use. No exterior expansion or modifications are proposed at this point. If we could go to the next slide. Okay, so staff reviewed the proposed use for consistency with the general plan, specific plan, and zoning as well. So for the general plan, the use is in the service sub-area, SSA, in the general plan, and the general intent of the SSA is to maintain and increase existing employment opportunities and encourage new housing opportunities while accommodating commercial uses that serve residents through mixed-use development. So relevant policies include LU 1.1. This talks about providing land use diversity along San Pablo Avenue, Pinole Valley Road, and Appian Way corridors, and particularly to ensure that there is a variety of commercial, industrial goods, services, and employment opportunities that are available. LU 7.1 talks about making sure there's sufficient land for commercial industrial uses to allow for development, and that provides for basic goods and services to Pinole residents. And LU 7.2 talks about providing for economic development, which maintains the city's ability to finance services, as well as offering local employment opportunities for Pinole residents to reduce intercity commuting and assuring availability and diversity of residents serving goods and services. So the project seems to fit within the intent of the general plan designation as a commercial use for the site, providing a mixture of different and new commercial opportunities within the Pinole Valley Shopping Center. So within the specific plan, this is also designated an SSA in the Pinole Valley Road corridor, and it provides further specificity for the general plan designation. For the SSA, it's noted as serving as a gateway into Pinole and for maintaining existing employment opportunities as well. So for the CMU land use designation in San Pablo Avenue, in the specific plan in the Pinole Valley Road corridor is to designate properties for commercial and mixed-use development and providing for integration of retail, service, commercial uses with office and residential. The project isn't proposing any further expansion, so development standards such as setbacks and heights wouldn't necessarily apply here. Further, the project's located within a specific plan area, so in the case of any conflicts, the specific plan would supersede the zoning code. And in this case, the use is under the specific plan, the private schools and commercial uses. It would follow the specific plan's requirement for a conditional use permit. So based on staff's review of the environmental for this project, the California Environmental Quality Act CEQA determination is that the project would be exempt under section 15301, which covers existing facilities since there's little to no expansion of the structure. If we could go to the next slide, please. So Planning Commission, in your consideration tonight, would consider 4 approval findings for the conditional use permit. Staff has provided the staff assessment in the staff report, and we'll just generally go over some of the approval findings here as well. So the first one is the proposed use is consistent with the general plan and any applicable specific plans and all applicable provisions of this title being the zoning code. So just based on the previous discussion in the staff report, staff finds that the use would be compatible and consistent with the general plan policies, as well as the specific plan designation and intended use of the site. The second finding is that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the use applied for will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, the location, size, design, and operating characteristics, be detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood, or such use, or to the general welfare of the city. So staff finds that this use meets the finding as well. As conditioned, the use would not be detrimental. The proposed use occupies an existing tenant space, resulting in no further expansion. And further, the use is consistent with the range of commercial opportunities already present in the shopping center and is operating within sort of the timeframes that are already in the shopping center. The earliest being, I believe, 5 a.m. for Pete's, and the latest closing being about 11 p.m. for Mod Pizza. For the third finding, the site of the proposed use is physically suitable for the type, density, and intensity of the use and the related structures being proposed. So the proposed use doesn't involve any expansion of the building that would intensify or densify or increase the intensity of development. The site's in an existing shopping center and is occupying an existing space and includes a smaller scale commercial occupant. So the site is shared. The site has a shared parking lot, shared among all of the tenants in the shopping center, and the use would of course be able to use that as well as alternative modes of transportation to access the site. And finally, the last finding would be that the use would not be contrary to the specific intent clauses, development regulations, or performance standards established for the zoning district in which it is located. The proposed use and related structures are compatible with other land uses, transportation and service facilities in the vicinity. So of course, the use is located within an existing shopping center designed to accommodate a variety of different tenants. The project does not result in an expansion, and the proposed use would fit with the variety of commercial establishments. Further, the site is being served by an existing parking lot as well as other modes, including sidewalks for pedestrian access, nearby bus stop, and bike racks as well for any bicyclists. If we could go to the next slide. So staff's recommendation, after Planning Commission considers the public comments and deliberates, is to adopt Resolution 25-03, approving this use permit, UP 25-0002, for a conditional use permit, providing for the establishment of Club Pilates at 2814 Pinole Valley Road. Staff is available for any questions for staff, although the applicant's also available as well to make a presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shu. And just a quick microphone check. I think you may have had some reverb going on there towards the end of it, so I'm not sure how many microphones you have active. So first we have questions for staff before the applicant. So I'll start to my left. Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any questions for staff on this item?
Yes, I did have one question for staff. This was on condition of approval number 11. My question was, would the kind of responsible for kind of like maintenance, I don't know if would this one apply more for the owner of the developer of the entire property or specifically for this CUP?
It would apply for the CUP, although I guess the applicant would be, in contact with the owner should anything occur that would, require this condition to be active. This is a general condition that, if construction occurs on the site, if there's any damage, the applicant would be responsible for making those repairs.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that was my only question for staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamjoyan, any questions for staff?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Vice Chair Martinez, any questions for staff?
The question that I have for you, Mr. Shu, is in attachment B, page 29. And I'll go down to it. It's the bullet point, estimated number of visitors, any amplified sound, and proposed pedestrian and vehicular circulation on site. And so I'm going to go down to the third bullet point, which reads pedestrian and vehicular circulation. As each class has only has capacity for up to 12 people, there will be up to 12 people walking and or driving to classes each day. There is a 10-minute transition window between classes to allow one class to end and a new class to begin to facilitate the flow of clients entering and exiting the studio. My question for you, Mr. Shu, is related to the drop-off circulation. As we have seen in the community, and I think the client base they're going to have is a little bit older, if you will, a little bit more mature, I would say, than the issue that we continue to see with the other studio on the other bookend of the property, which consistently has folks pulling up, parking, and sitting there and causing major traffic problems for the entire community. And I hear this and I see this. Is there something we can do to ensure that in our conditional use permit that we review this maybe in another year or two, come back and visit it and make sure that the tenants at this property and the folks that are using the facility are being considerate of others and not parking cars as people are unloading and reloading and causing challenges with the parking, getting in and out of, and the flow of traffic in that area. What can we do around that? Or is that a question for Mr. Hannon?
I guess both of us could answer, and Dave could feel free to jump in. But yeah, as Planning Commission, you are able to add additional conditions if you feel that there might be a potential issue or something that you need to revisit further down the line. If this condition would also help you make your findings for your decision, either approval or whatever it may be, you could certainly propose that condition. You might consider hearing the applicant as well to see what her experience is, and also discuss with your commissioners to see if you want to make a motion to add a condition afterwards. But it's certainly within your purview to condition the project if you think it's appropriate in order to meet those findings of approval for the conditional use permit.
Understood. Thank you.
And if I might add to Vice Chair Martinez, also, they have a maximum of up to 12 people per class. Doesn't mean all the classes will be maximum. So they could have minimum, so depending on, it's going to be a lot of dependable on what type of popularity that the club has and depending on the number of classes and the size of those classes. By not exceeding the 12 maximum, we know that there's a finite number of people that can be in that studio at one time. However, if you're more comfortable with adding a condition to review within the year or bring it back within a year, we can do that. And what we will do is that we're not going to go out and monitor, but if there are complaints regarding from other businesses that this business is totally, they're taking up all of our parking and we can't go out, and then we'll go investigate. So and see what the issues are, and then bring back those those complaints or whatever within the year. And if there aren't any, then we would then ask the commission then to remove that condition and move forward with, or if the commission would want to keep that condition on for a yearly review. You don't usually do that with most businesses. However, sometimes with these businesses, they have a tendency to grow, which is a good thing. And whether they come back, and because we do have, and one last thing, because there is times, the conditional use permit sets the time and the place of the classes. If they were to have to expand that, if their group was so popular that they needed to add more classes, they would have to come back to the commission, is my understanding of the condition. I think, I forget what condition it is, to be able to expand the class load for that. So that's my comments.
Okay, so just to close out my comments, so thank you for the additional information. I appreciate it. We just want to make sure, because I think this is a great idea. I really, really do. But having used that parking lot for years, the drop-off situation is really challenging. So if we can just make sure that we add language in there that says, we need to keep an eye on the drop-offs and make sure that they're not parking and blocking cars and waiting on folks, because it's not too much to ask to anybody. Just park your car. There's plenty of spots. Park the car. Wait for your person instead of parking in front of the facility and blocking everybody. So if that might be something we want to consider. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Commissioner Hui, any questions for staff?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Uch, any questions for staff?
No questions for this time.
Commissioner Bender, any questions for staff?
I just have one question, and it deals with the conditions of approval under item 8, the construction activity, specifically E and F. Given that this is a tenant improvement, I'm just wondering about the relevance of E and F.
Thanks, Commissioner Bender. Since these are just general conditions of approval, they likely won't apply to this project, but we just keep them in for just projects in general.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't think I have any questions for staff at this time. So I will now go ahead and open the public hearing and ask the applicant if they wish to make a presentation. So would you like to make a presentation?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. And do we have the presentation in front of commissioners? Oh, okay. There we go.
Now we do.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm actually going to change my name here just so everyone knows. But hello, I'm Melissa Miller. I'm the owner of the Club Pilates Pinole studio location. And tonight, just respectfully requesting approval to open in the Pinole Valley Shopping Center. Justin did go through a lot of some of the details, but in the next slide, just wanted to give you a quick overview of what Club Pilates is. We are a boutique Pilates studio that requires really just a small footprint as far as only about on average about 1,800 square feet. So, you know, we have already discussed there are a maximum of 12 clients per class, not always full, but we also do offer one-on-one private training sessions. But everything is always scheduled and pre-booked by reservation only. Our group classes are 50 minutes in length. That start typically on the hour or the half hour and provide a 10-minute transition window for flow between in and out of classes. And our private sessions are a full 60 minutes. And just a little bit about myself too. We are, as far as Club Pilates, we are the largest Pilates franchise globally with over 1,000 studio locations worldwide. My husband and I have been in the Club Pilates franchise system since 2016. We opened our first studio in Alameda in 2018, which has now become the top Bay Area Club Pilates studio. And then we do also own studios in the Brockridge neighborhood of Oakland, which we opened in 2023. And then just last year, we opened in the El Cerrito Plaza. So we're very excited for the opportunity to round out our portfolio and open in the Pinole area, which then leads me to the next slide. Perfect. So why Club Pilates in Pinole? So, you know, upon reviewing some of the demographic research of the area, we did find that Pinole and the surrounding communities in Hercules and El Sobrante align well with the Club Pilates core customer demographics. As alluded by one of the commissioners, we do skew on the more mature side. We do have a little bit of a skew towards the women in the mid 40s and up. Not to say that we don't offer Pilates to everybody. We feel wholeheartedly it benefits all ages, men, women, etc. But after being in operation on the East Bay since 2018, we really do feel and know firsthand just how much Pilates supports the overall health and well-being of all our clients, from injury prevention to rehabilitation, functional movement, and in a very safe and low impact format. And with our small studio footprint, and controlled attendance and just overall general appeal to many in the community, Club Pilates definitely has increased foot traffic to neighboring businesses in our other locations. And it does complement other existing uses. Even, I think we mentioned the martial arts studio in the same shopping center. We do have other locations that have similar neighboring tenants. And we do feel that sometimes, or even tutoring centers, et cetera. And sometimes actually the parents now have a reason to actually park and go and attend a class while their kids are in the tutoring session or in another class. So hopefully that would alleviate some of the traffic jams that you are experiencing in that center currently. If you go to the next slide, again, we touched on the operations, but visitors up to 12 per class, not at all at the same time. We do have very minimal amplified sound. We have ambient music in the background, but as we have our instructor providing guidance to the class as our clients are performing the exercises, we don't have a lot of loud music. So it's actually less, probably no sound from our neighboring. We never have complaints from our neighbors in our other sites. And then again, the 10-minute transition window in between the classes just ensures the smooth flow so that members can finish their class, wipe off their equipment, gather their belongings, and head out the door. And then our other classes will be able to come into the studio space. Next slide. And as far as staffing and on-site personnel, we really only have about 2 employees per day with our instructor who's leading the class, and then either our manager or one of our front desk staff. On occasion, we might have up to 4 employees on the site, which could be because of some training. Our manager may be working side by side with one of our front desk associates, or another instructor may be performing a private training session while the other classes are going on, since we have a dedicated private training room that would be on site. But overall, typically we have about 10 to 12 part-time employees that we employ throughout, consisting of front desk sales staff, instructors, and we do always have at least one full-time manager. Next slide, please. And then operating hours, Justin already provided this. Again, we typically have classes as early as 6 or 6:30 a.m. on Monday through Friday, and then a little bit of downtime in the midday, and then in the evenings we resume classes typically between 4:30 up to 8 or 8:30 p.m. We don't usually offer much later than that, just because most people are ready to get on with their day by that point. The midday time does tend to be a good time for us to do any of the administrative tasks, cleaning, but also maybe some private training. But it is an opportunity where we are still open for calls and walk-ins, but we just may not necessarily have classes, again, depending on demand as we grow. Next slide. And this is just a quick graphic just to show overall the Pinole Valley shopping hourly visits. We receive this from our landlord, but it just is here to show you that our use does complement the center by operating during some of the slower visiting hours, especially the early morning and as we get into the later evening. However, what they also provided is that, the average stay is typically 27 minutes. The median stay is about 18 minutes. So there is a lot of opportunity for parking spot turnover throughout the day. Next slide, please. And this is the site map, which shows, where we will be in the center next to the Mod Pizza. Also directly next to us on the other side would be the Pinole Valley Orthodontics, which does close at 5 p.m. So again, once we are hitting some of our evening classes, then we won't have the neighbors open for business there. And I think they're also not open on the weekends except for one Saturday a month. And we're also on the opposite side of, I think, what tends to be a little bit more of the congested area with, the shop, the grocery, and the Trader Joe's and the martial arts studio. The next slide, please. So this, again, we alluded and touched on earlier with Justin, but essentially with the client arrival patterns for parking and transportation. So most of our clients do arrive by car. Some, if they're in the neighborhood, will walk, take their bike, or, if needed, with public transportation. Our site is that bus stop directly in front of the shopping center, which could support some public transportation. We also do have bike racks and on either side of the immediate building that we would be in to promote anybody who would like to bike. And we do notice that with some of in our other studios, our clientele do like to bike. It's, a nice way to get a little bit of a warm up or a cool down in between, before and after class. And as far as the parking and drop offs, so clients do usually park. It's a 50-minute class. They will need to park in order to take the class. Again, most of them, they're not children or people that are being necessarily dropped off. We might even have some carpooling where we have maybe mother-daughter duo or, some roommates coming in together. If we do see people that are dropped off, typically by companions, it's because those companions may be, running to the grocery store or running errands nearby, but they wouldn't necessarily be lingering and kind of taking up space, waiting for, like a class to finish necessarily, like we have seen with maybe like a tutoring center or whatnot. And next slide. Perfect. So, overall, again, kind of benefiting the community. I think we talked already about the uses and just overall the site suitability. So I don't necessarily want to go into too much here, but essentially, hopefully our use is not detrimental at all to the health, safety, and peace and welfare of the community. I mean, we are compatible and we're not really, our footprint, again, being small, we're not requiring any major expansion or whatnot of the exterior. And then next slide is, these are just a few testimonials that we've received already from some of our members who are excited and have taken advantage of our early bird membership offers. And you'll see here, I mean, we have a member who already is expecting that they live close by. They actually would love to walk. They're very excited about just us being in this area where, Pilates can really help overall with their health goals and provide them just another opportunity to really, provide another fitness modality that will be just overall, helpful to their overall well-being. And that is it. If you go on to this appendix in the next couple of slides, these are just site maps of where we are in our other locations. So in our Alameda and in our El Cerrito studios, we are also in shopping centers that are similar with, anchor grocery tenants. The difference with our Rockridge, Oakland location is we are in ground floor retail of a luxury apartment complex. So it's different in that, we only have maybe 8 dedicated retail parking spots, but then we're everything else is either by foot, bike, or street parking. But we do have a tenant that is like a tutoring center, and then another, some other health centers that are in that same area. But we haven't found an issue necessarily when it comes to like parking and drop off there. And this is just, again, if you wanted some additional references to other Bay Area Club Pilates locations that are in similar shopping centers as the Pinole Valley Shopping Center, with anchor tenants such as the Safeway or Walgreens or CVS, that, we have very successful Club Pilates studios that have been in operation for years as well, similar to ours. And that is it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And now let's see. Before we have the commission ask any questions of the applicant, I believe we have the persons in favor of the project should be given an opportunity to speak, followed by persons opposed. So are there any persons wishing to speak in favor of this project?
I'll just mention to anyone online. Okay, yes, please raise your hands if you're online and wish to speak. We do have one hand raised currently from an Andy Armstrong. Okay, Andy, when you're ready, please unmute, and you will have, I believe, 5 minutes to speak. Okay, Andy, you are unmuted, so please feel free to begin when you can.
Oh, can you hear me now, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commission and staff, for giving us the opportunity to speak in favor of this. My name is Andy Armstrong. I work on behalf of Crosspoint Realty Group. We lease and manage this shopping center for the ownership group, along with 7 million square feet of other similarly situated kind of Class A grocery anchored shopping centers throughout the Bay Area. It's about 30 to 35 other shopping centers. In our world, Club Pilates would be considered boutique fitness, and in the vast majority of our shopping centers, we have boutique fitness operators operating within, different tenant mixes, and they play extremely well. The way that the retail industry has evolved over the last 10 years, I'm sure you're seeing this across your city, is that fitness has gotten smaller and more individualized and specialized, and it's not this behemoth of old that you're worried about parking impacts from people taking essentially all day gym sessions. And so it really complements the neighboring tenants within our shopping centers. And frankly, to find a grocery anchored shopping center without boutique fitness in it is now more rare. It's more common to have them in one of our centers and throughout other A centers in the Bay Area. The only reason we would not have them in any of our shopping centers is just purely we either haven't found the right tenant or don't have the space for them. So The one comment on parking circulation, Commissioner, I do understand your concerns regarding the martial arts and maybe like a tutoring type use. I would say because those are typically kid oriented and those folks aren't driving themselves just yet, you could have circulation issues. Whereas we've got multiple Club Pilates, other franchisees, but other Club Pilates operators in our portfolio. And these folks are driving themselves and parking, right? These are your moms, your brothers, your sisters that are driving there and parking themselves, and then visiting the other tenants, cross shopping throughout the shopping center. So it's not nearly the same impact as you would having a use that's going to cater to a pre-driving demographic, if you will. So hopefully you guys approve this. Not to do so would be terribly misguided in kind of our retail leasing world today. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals wishing to speak in favor of this project?
No other hands raised currently.
All right. Are there any individuals wishing to speak in opposition to this project?
No hands raised.
All right. Given as there are no persons wishing to speak in opposition, there's no need for the applicant to provide a rebuttal. I will now close the public hearing for this item. And the commission can now discuss this item amongst itself. So going the other direction now, and at this point, you can ask questions directly to the applicant if you like. Commissioner Bender, let's start with you.
No questions.
Commissioner Uch, any questions?
I do have a question for the applicant. Quick question on the demographic of people who attend to your club. I'm curious on like the percentage or like the amount of people who, what's the demographic of people who live like in the same city that they attend the club at?
Yes. So we do see that most people in our studios actually only pretty much are coming from our direct neighboring area. We do have some people currently actually in our El Cerrito that are driving from Pinole and even Hercules, which is why that has become, we even came on our radar as far as an opportunity there. But otherwise, we find overall with our studios and with Club Pilates and many fitness, boutique fitness studios, most people don't want to drive more than 2 to 3 miles to get to their, local fitness, facility necessarily, unless, or they're coming straight after work or before work.
Got it. Thank you. Because that's really, sorry, that's a really important question because I just want to address some of the concerns that I feel like Commissioner Martinez was asking about traffic, because that is a concern, especially if a lot of people are driving, and if a lot of people are driving, they're most likely maybe driving from another city, and that can cause a lot of issues because in that case, the issue with the traffic is fundamentally like a lack of diverse options. And it's good to hear that at least most people who do go to your club are actually local, who live close by. And at least where the location where Club Pilates is at, near Mon, it has pretty good pedestrian connections, especially with the trail that connects it to Pinole Valley. And I forget what that street's called with the little cul-de-sac. Is it Sarah Drive? Not exactly, but that provides a really convenient pedestrian access and also bike access, because there are 2 bike parkings on the edges of the property from Mod and the trail, and that can accommodate, if I believe, been there multiple times, at least 8 bikes. And so my guess is generally when people live close by, majority will walk, so there isn't a concern of people as much of like driving or loading, have to worry about, the logistics of finding space for parking. And especially with, walking or biking, that greatly helps alleviate the traffic. So this is just, in my opinion, but I just want to be sure to make sure that, the traffic concerns are at least addressed, especially with the location. It's pretty good. So I'm guessing, hopefully, that most people would walk or bike to the location. But that's all my questions, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Hui, do you have any questions or comments for the applicant?
I do. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Melissa. And I'm really excited to see this opportunity for our residents. You had mentioned that you opened multiple franchises in locations such as Alameda and El Cerrito. And I don't know if this is an individual franchise decision or if this is a corporate decision. But would you happen to know if this studio will be participating in the Active and Fit program? For my fellow commissioners and members of the audience who may not be familiar with Active and Fit, it is a service that is offered oftentimes through your health insurance or your employer for it to provide a contract-free and discounted or affordable gyms. It is a service that I know that many Medi-Cal members do rely on to get access to quality gyms at an affordable rate. I just did a quick search, and the other two studios that you had mentioned in Alameda and El Cerrito do indeed participate. And so my question is whether or not you know the Pinole location will participate in this program as well.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. And yes, we would be participating in that program. It is actually part of our overall system with Club Pilates. So we do, once we are open and fully operational, then we will open to the healthcare memberships that we participate in, which include, the Active and Fit program.
That's excellent to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice Chair Martinez.
Mrs. Miller, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate that additional level of information. And what I pulled out of the data point that you gave us, which is really helpful for us, is your downtime between 2 and 4 o'clock in the day. That's the exact time that the high school's letting out, and it just gets really a heavy amount of foot traffic. So if that's during your downtime, that actually complements and works really well with the way that particular location works. Additional to that, I think Mr. Armstrong did a really good job at addressing my traffic flow concerns. So I really don't feel that there's any need to require any additional conditions on our approval based upon his shedding the light that the type of boutique service that you're offering is completely different than the folks that are, parking the cars, waiting on, the kids to finish up their class, because it's a completely different demographic. So thank you so much for that additional information. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. No, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb-Julian, any questions or comments for the applicant?
Yes, just one question. Melissa, if you could clarify if you would be offering classes specifically with folks with different mobility, accessibility classes for folks. I understand that right now class availability for people with mobility challenges is getting is reduced significantly. So just would you be able to offer that in your programming or just in your offerings in general, or just adjustments to what you're able to offer to the community?
Right. And would you mind kind of expanding upon when you meant with mobility? Is that with like wheelchair accessibility? Is it from some, injury provoked or?
Both. So just temporary mobility challenges as well as physical disabilities as well.
Yes. So to the extent that with Pilates overall, I think the overall benefits of Pilates definitely caters to people who are coming out of some sort of injury or have rehabilitation. We are often recommended as the next step after physical therapy, or we often get chiropractors who also send their clients our way, or doctors who recommend their patients to come to Pilates, only because we are so low impact and really help to continue with the mobility issues that are often found post-surgery, where, but also because of the limitations of insurance and accessibility there, they tend to not be able to continue ongoing physical therapy treatment endlessly, right, without insurance cutting them off. And so we are a really natural next step for that. So not only would we be able to accommodate people maybe if they have pretty severe mobility or disability mobility issues, then maybe we would have them just focus on some one-on-one sessions first until they are able to safely join a group session. Because again, with up to 12 people, we do provide a smaller group setting that has more individualized instruction, but at the same time, we always want to make sure that the safety of our clients is at the forefront of all of our classes, and our instructors will always ask at the beginning of the class, if anybody has any injuries, what, things that may prevent them from fully participating in the class in a safe format. So to answer your question, depending on, as long as they have clearance from their doctor, things that, so that to show that they are able to enter into a fitness-based class while we are still low impact. We are not a medical facility, and so we are, still fitness oriented. We just have to make sure that they are cleared to safely participate in some sort of exercise program. But again, because we have the opportunity to also cater to clients one-on-one, then that does give us the ability to hopefully provide our services to most anyone who is interested and really enjoying the benefits of Pilates there.
Okay, just following up, would Club Pilates be agreeable or open to becoming a vendor with the Regional Center of East Bay, which caters to the disability community of Contra Costa and Alameda County? That way, folks that are in need of additional support from mobility challenges, rehabilitation, would be aware that this location is catering to them, and it is an option, and it would be covered by health insurance as well, to expand on Commissioner Huey's Active and Fit initiative.
Right. So as far as us being part of where we could be approved by insurance, that's something where that might be overall at our brand level with Club Pilates. But I do know that unfortunately we are the way that it looks because we have had clients who have tried to submit their membership through their healthcare provider. They can do it from a reimbursement standpoint, but because we are not a dedicated medical facility, we are not allowed to take insurance, but people members of ours have been able to submit receipts and become reimbursed on the back end. So we'd be happy to discuss and meet and see how we could, partner with that facility. But unfortunately, we wouldn't be necessarily guaranteeing that we can take insurance payments because we're not classified in that way. We're actually classified more as a retail fitness establishment.
Okay, thank you so much for your clarification. I'm complete.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Sandoval, any questions or comments for the applicant?
Yes, I did have a couple of questions. Thank you for the presentation. One question I did have was what kind of, say, is there percentage-wise of like operation, where do you kind of think you'd be operating percentage-wise? And I can clarify a bit on more on that.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So like, how busy do you think that it'll be? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, as a business owner, I would love to say we'd be 100% utilized, and
hopefully, yeah,
we'll have lots of members. But essentially, I think on average, as we may have alluded to in our presentation, I mean, while we do have a maximum of up to 12 people per class, depending on the times, typically maybe the after work times may be a little busier, or the actually before work because of depending on who our members are, and in each city and each of our studios it's slightly different, but we may have full 12 capacity or 12 max per class, but in other cases it may be more like 8 to 10. It might be about 80% utilized in those cases. So it just depends, but also as we grow, we kind of take a look and see where we can alleviate any sort of issues with, if people are unable to get into the classes because we are getting fuller or whatnot, then we always evaluate the classes. But I would say, on average, our class utilization, when we look at that across the board, even with our busiest, our oldest studio in Alameda, utilization it would be great to be up in the 90% of our classes, but on average, it's 80 to 85%.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, thank you for sharing. The other question I had was I was looking at your floor plan, and it looks like there is a restroom, but there isn't a kind of like a dedicated locker room area. I know that a lot of people would probably be coming before work or after work to do their Pilates. So I was just wondering why. And did you just not think that it was needed, or just think the restroom would suffice as like a changing area?
Yeah, so with the way that our the Club Pilates footprint in the layout, they're pretty similar across the brand. Overall, the members tend to come. Club Pilates or Pilates overall isn't a form of exercise that creates a lot of. It's not like a high impact where a lot of people are kind of sweating and like dripping with sweat and feel like they have to shower and change right away. Oftentimes our members actually come in. If they are coming before work, maybe they would change in the restroom and they would feel, they would just freshen up there. But most of our clients actually, because they are so close to the studio, they'll usually even have time to go home and change really quickly and go to work, or go home, drop off their kids at school, and then, get on with their day. But typically we've found we have actually not too many members who end up coming in and having to necessarily change. So with the cubby system, because again, we have that 10-minute window, we do have cubbies that are dedicated for our members to put their belongings, their shoes, because we don't allow shoes in the studio space for the equipment integrity and so forth, and hygiene, of course. But they are able to then quickly gather the belongings and get on with their day. And then the next group of members come in, put their stuff in the cubbies, and they walk into the studios. So it actually hasn't been much of a problem. And this is how overall all the Club Pilates, the layouts are designed.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Thank you. That answers my question.
Of course.
Thank you. And now for my questions. I have a few. So first off, I noticed that you mentioned at a few points potentially having private lessons during your downtime marked area. And I'm not quite sure how that interacts with your planned days and hours of operation, because under condition 5, under your conditions of approval, and that's on page 26 of the agenda packet, it states that your hours of operation are going to be in the stated time block, 6:30 to 2:30, 4:30 to 8:30. So is operation just defined as classes here, or does operation also include these private sessions that you're discussing? And I guess this is a joint question for you and for staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the way it's presented, I think if you'd like, we can make further specification here, but the intent is for hours of operation, it would be open to the public.
Okay, so even a private session would still fall under those hours of operation?
Yes.
All right, just wanted to make sure that was clear, because it seemed like there was perhaps something not quite clear there. Secondly, I'm not particularly familiar with Pilates, so I have some broader questions. You mentioned that you use equipment to support the training that you do. Is there any particular risk of injury with that equipment? Do you need like any first aid supplies available or things like that, like you would with barbells or the like?
I mean, with any sort of equipment use, yes. I mean, we do have small hand weights too in some of our classes, but we do have defibrillators and first aid kit on site in all of our studios. But again, since it's a smaller group setting where we have an instructor leading the class, maybe we haven't had major incidents of major injury. If anything, occasionally, if there's someone may have fallen off the equipment, it's a very rare occasion in that case. If they lose their balance or whatnot, there might be that risk, but overall it's not where as risky as like someone's trying to lift a huge heavy 100-pound barbell and could drop and create major havoc and break a bone necessarily, because again, we are much more low impact. With Pilates, it's more about slow, controlled movements. A lot of it is kind of mind body activation. So we're really focusing on more of the intrinsic muscles to, as we say, work from the inside out. So we're really focusing on core stability, which, which will stem and kind of then branch out into some of our larger, our arms, our legs, and things that are going to help us in everyday life. So that's why it's not like a huge, high impact, fast moving necessarily type of workout that would be extremely dangerous. Although we do have everyone, sign waivers, of course, and we have the necessary, ice packs and Band-Aids and so forth on site as needed.
Sure. And then I guess sort of as a broader security question, I know you mentioned and the site plans indicate that you have some cubbies on site where people could leave items while they're doing their classes. Have there ever been issues with, theft or misplacement of items in those cubbies, or are they generally sufficiently secure that that's not a problem?
I mean, if anybody is worried, we actually discourage people from bringing any major belongings, or any of their, important, or a lot of, we try to limit people from bringing laptops or something. I mean, obviously we can't help it, but we just try to discourage people and say if they are feeling uncomfortable about leaving anything in the cubby area, they're more than welcome to bring it inside the studio space where the class will be held. We can put it, at the foot of the reformer, so that's away from and potential tripping hazards. But, there's always, we try to minimize, having, if once the class has started, we may encourage our staff to lock the doors so that it would limit, kind of potential wanderers coming in. So we really try to, keep that in mind. And again, encourage people. Usually the cubbies are really for the shoes, our, jackets, et cetera, so that people can come in and out. They can just put their shoes and jackets there and then walk into the room. And we try to minimize having too many huge belongings with them if possible. So we don't tempt people too much.
Good. Thanks for clearing that up. It's hopefully that will never happen, but it's something that would maybe show up as a concern to me if I were taking advantage of such a service. So let's see. I guess before I ask questions of staff, I guess this is maybe a question for you more directly. Would you like to be able to offer basically private sessions during the times that are currently not allocated in your hours of operation? So basically the midday time block between 2:30 or 2 and 4 and 4:30, broadly speaking.
It is a possibility, yes. So when we say hours of operation, I think Justin said those are, to clarify, those were the class time, I'm clarifying that those are the class times, but we are open, as I mentioned, as far as like being able to have staff on site to answer calls or cleaning or accepting walk-in inquiries. But sometimes there is an opportunity if somebody wants to learn how our equipment is in a class setting, but they're afraid to do it they don't have enough time to do it in a class to really get familiar, but they want to be more comfortable with our equipment, and our private training room equipment is slightly different than what's in our main studio space, then we may schedule them at the time to do that one-on-one private training with an instructor in that main studio session, because we wouldn't be able to do it during a class time. Otherwise, yeah, if we can, then depending on the time, they can do a private training session at the same time as a group class is going on in the private training room. But if there's an opportunity and somebody does have that need or request, or they need more special attention, then we may want to use it during one of that downtime.
Okay, so now I have a question for staff, I think. Would there need to be a modification to condition of approval number 5 to permit that use?
Yeah, we can modify condition of approval number 5, either to just, extend the hour so it doesn't show like the downtime in between, or just to add further specification that, there are business hours that are a longer range, and these currently in the conditions are the initial planned class hours, if that helps. So you could always modify the conditions to provide some additional hours to the applicant if you feel that that provides for just a smoother operation and reducing the need to come back to commission or to staff for like further modifications.
Right, because I suspect there may very well be a need to come back if we don't address this now, so might as well address it now. I think the simplest way to do it would probably be to basically create a separate subset of hours of operation for private sessions, et cetera, and have hours for that noted down in 5. So like for the purposes of private sessions, the hours available are from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. inclusive. And then note down that the above schedule is for the classes particularly. That way it's clearer. Would that be a feasible way to restructure it?
Yes, I think so. To clarify that the hours currently noted on the condition are the class hours, and then to create a new subset for like business hours or other operating hours that is like 6 a.m. to 8:30 or whatever the range might be for weekday and weekend.
Right, permitting non-class uses basically.
Yep.
So do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments on that suggestion? All right, then I would move a modification to the condition of approval number 5, noting the existing hours listed as the hours for classes and creating a separate subset of hours of operations for.
Sorry to interrupt, but I did have a question. And I guess this one is more for staff. Would this actually be needed? Based on the kind of like taking the hours of operation very literally?
I think if you wanted to provide some hours here, it provides more specificity. If you feel that it might be ambiguous otherwise, and it might benefit, just the applicant or anyone like reviewing the conditions to see that there are, just different ranges of hours, you could definitely propose that.
I definitely think there's ambiguity here, and I know that in the past when there's been sort of similar, I think there was a dance studio that had a somewhat similar issue come up a few years back where basically there were blocks in time and there were also intermediary blocks where they had slightly different things, and we needed to restructure their conditions of approval so we could have the time blocked out properly so there wasn't any confusion. Just want to make sure there's not any issues involved.
Well, I guess that what I was kind of thinking is that if we decide to just blanket open up the hours, then that would kind of let them operate in hours that maybe we don't want them to.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting that we're structuring it in this particular way. We're keeping the existing subsection, all of those hours, and we're saying those hours are the hours for classes. And then we're creating a new subsection within condition 5 that says, for the purposes of private classes only, the permissible hours are from X to Y. That way we don't have the issue of large classes in the peak travel time that Vice Chair Martinez noted, but we also permit the usage for those times for individual users where it might make sense.
Well, I think you'd have to clarify further because any class could technically be considered a private class, no?
Well, the applicant did note that there are classes which are up to 12 people and like one-on-one sessions, I think.
Right,
So
one-on-one sessions, whatever the technical language the applicant used. I think we
Yes.
could probably use that in the conditions of approval, say one-on-one sessions.
Well, I might just add something in here as well. I mean, if we open it up, because the way it is right now is basically they have no use of the club except for normal business operations of such cleaning and all that from 2 to 4. So any type of opening up that time, whether it's for one-on-ones, because you're going to limit the one-on-ones because they could have up to 12, 13
Right,
one-on-one
it's
sessions,
limited
which
to one-on-one.
basically equivalent to a class, right? But it's only in one-on-ones. So I think you need to, if you want, like Vice Chair Martinez was saying regarding the traffic issue between 2 and 4, if you want to kind of limit that, you might want to just limit the number of the one-on-one sessions. I mean, you can have sessions all during from the 6:30 to 2:30 or the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. But it's that 2 to 4 period that you might want to limit the maximum of 6 one-on-ones or 5 one-on-one sessions could be allowed within that time frame. Because if you're just going to say one-on-one sessions, they could bring additional staff in because if Pinole is a popular studio, they could bring additional staff in and have multiple one-on-one sessions. And ultimately, one-on-ones could actually exceed. It could exceed the general class session because they're only one-on-one. So that's why we need to be careful with opening up that 2 to 4 time for quote classes or even individual. And I think if you're gonna substantiate or separate out the classes with the one-on-ones, that if you want to avoid that 2 to 4 period, which it is very busy in that center, you might want to just limit that. They can have one-to-one, but they can only have up to 6 or up to 6 one-on-one classes or something of that nature. Or just don't allow the one-on-ones. They can only happen between the 6:30 and 2 and the 4:30 to 8 or the 6 to 2. So that would be staff's. That's what I'd recommend on that.
Yeah, and you could also check with the applicant as well if 6 seems like a reasonable number for one-on-one, or like what her estimates are just based on
Right,
experience.
because I was basically operating under the assumption that it would effectively be limited by, the private space. So it would basically be one person at a time for however long the one-on-one sessions went for.
Right.
So I guess this is a question for the applicant now. How many people simultaneously could you have doing one-on-one sessions at one time?
It really could depend on the availability of our instructor staff. Typically, it'd be actually great if we could have 6 at a time, but we definitely don't. Typically, it's just one. Maybe if there is another instructor that's coming in for the afternoon and they want to do one, there might be a little bit of that overlap. But again, unfortunately, we are limited by the staff that we have. So most often it's someone that is an instructor that might be just staying for 1 extra hour after the end of their class time. Because of labor laws, et cetera, we don't allow them to really stay longer than the 6 hours or whatnot. But we usually don't see a ton of overlap. It might be 2 private training sessions happening concurrently, if we're lucky. But again, they're not every day, all day. And our private training is a little bit more of an ancillary revenue stream for us, where it's more of we look at it more as a member benefit for somebody who is needing some additional support. But most often the point of our private sessions are to move them into a group class so that they can take more advantage of the breadth of our and breadth of the schedule and not be limited by just one single instructor. But
Okay.
to your point, yes, in theory, I guess you could open it up and have multiple, one at every station, but that wouldn't happen necessarily because that would be a group class at that point.
Right, it would be just in terms of crowding, and I don't think that would be particularly feasible.
It wouldn't be feasible because people would be speaking over each other, and you're right.
So would you say a cap of 3 per hour within that period would make sense, given the limitations on instructors?
Right. Yeah, I think that would be fair.
So in that case, if we can restructure it to say for the hours of basically the blank, so for Monday and Wednesday between 2:30 and 4:30, for Tuesday and Thursday between 2 and 4, and for Friday from 2:30 to 4:30, basically a maximum of 3 one-on-one sessions per hour within that time period are permitted. Can it be basically reworded to state that? Would that meet the concerns of staff?
Yes, that would be fine. We could clarify that language, and then you could make a motion if you wanted to adopt that amendment.
Okay, so to my fellow commissioners, I guess, does anybody have any suggested modifications they'd make to that language before I make a motion on it? All right, then I'll move that we modify condition number 5, days and hours of operation, to create a section heading above the initial block of Monday through Wednesday, et cetera, stating 4 classes, and then create a new subsection heading beneath that states for one-on-one training with a maximum of 3 persons per hour, permitted between the hours of 2:30 and 4:30 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and permitted in the hours from 2 to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Would that be structured with adequate clarity for staff's purposes?
Yes. Did you also mention Friday? So is that Monday?
Yes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Okay,
because
got it.
that's the same sort
Yes.
of
Yeah.
space for each of those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, do I have a second for my motion?
I'll second that motion.
Is there any further discussion? All right, can we have a roll call, please? Oh, wait.
Yes, I
Commissioner
had a
Sandoval?
question. Did you make a motion to pass the resolution or just
No,
to
this is a
amend it?
modification to the resolution before we pass it.
Okay, sure.
So if we can have a roll call on this modification of the resolution?
Commissioner Utsch,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Yes.
Chair Menace.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0 to amend the operation hours on condition number 5.
Great. And then I don't think I have any other amendments I would like to make. So are there any other amendments that the members of the commission would like to make with regards to the conditions of approval or any of the findings? All right. Would anyone like to move approval of the item? I will go ahead and move approval of Resolution 25-03, approving UP 25-002, a conditional use permit application providing for the establishment of Club Pilates at 2814 Pinole Valley Road with attached conditions of approval as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Utsch,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Yes.
Chair Menace.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, and I hope that you'll be able to help improve the health of many Pinoleans during your time here.
Great. Thank you so much.
And, yes, I should probably also advise the audience of the appeal procedure again. So the commission decided to approve this item, and if any person desires to appeal the action, they can do so by filing an appeal with the city clerk and writing within 10 days of the action. The city council may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the planning commission. The cost to appeal is $500, minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Now, on to public hearing item number 2, UP 25-003, 16th Studio. And I believe, Mr. Hannum, you're the one making this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners. Tonight before you, we have a project. 16th Studio is seeking a conditional use permit to operate as a custom body art studio in compliance with local zoning ordinance and business regulations. The studio is committed to upholding our highest safety, health and safety professional standards while fostering a unique artistic community located in Pinole. As shown in tables 1 and 2, just kind of give some basic principles. The site is located at 1773 San Pablo Avenue in the existing Vintage Square office. That's more of a professional office type complex. It's owned by the Nasiri Properties out of Benicia. It's planning application use permit 2502 and conditional use permit 2502. The project, the center that the 16 Studio is operating in is 0.66 acres, which is actually 28,749 square feet. It has two separate buildings with suites. The 16 Studio is using the second building, which is A1, Suite A1. The tenant space that they're using is 1,128 square feet approximately. The specific planned sub-area is mixed-use sub-area in the San Pablo Avenue corridor, and it's mixed-use sub-area land use with the zoning classification of commercial mixed use. Actually, so we have some of the uses, because it's office complex, some of the uses that go from the north, south, east, west to the north, which is across San Pablo Avenue, and Mike's Appliances that is right across the street. To the south, we've got some single-family residential units. To the east, We've got Jones Avenue and some more additional single-family and some multifamily residential units, and some commercial mixed uses. And to the west, we've had a single-family residence with some commercial mixed use. Under the current requirements within the 3-corridor specific plan on the San Pablo Avenue corridor, personal services or body art or tattooing is considered a personal services restricted, and those uses require a conditional use permit. These uses are reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission pursuant to Municipal Code 17.12040, and the proposed use requested under this conditional use permit is located within an existing building and occupies approximately 1,200 square feet of vacant tenant space. The 16th studio is proposing to have hours of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment only, as well as Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment only. The applicant indicates the hours of operations will allow customers to visit by scheduled appointments only, so it reduces walk-in traffic and ensures a controlled and professional environment. The proposed hours are incorporated as part of our draft conditions in Attachment A. The project generally proposes to make minimal changes, as in your staff report of Attachment C. It shows the existing and the proposed. What they're proposing, there was very little changes to the building. However, they will be required to obtain a building permit from the building division for the proposed tenant improvements. And of course, any signage installation and a sign permit from the planning division would be required. As part of the general plan consistency, the project is designated a mixed-use sub-area in the general plan and mixed-use sub-area in the 3-corridor specific plan. Per the general plan, the mixed-use sub-area allows all types of commercial and residential uses as either a single use or in a combination with allowable commercial and residential uses. The designation is intended to encourage ground floor pedestrian-friendly retail sales and service uses with upper floors of office and/or residential uses. Commercial activities can include a range of retail activity from neighborhood commercial convenience stores and community shopping centers to regionally oriented specialty stores and office uses. The proposed body art studio would occupy a tenant space within an existing commercial building complex to provide new commercial services and would meet general plan goals, policies, including the following. And I've included a couple of goals and policies from the general plan that would indicate that this project meets those consistency requirements. And basically having the emphasis of the mixed-use corridor, mixed-use sub-area within the San Pablo Avenue corridor as envisioned in the specific plan is to create a bridge between the Old Town Pinole and the subservice area. Per the description of the mixed-use sub-area along San Pablo, varied mixed uses of low-density residential, multifamily residential, professional office, and service commercial uses play a vital role in fulfilling this vision. As part of the specific plan, this project is required to have a specific plan, a 3-corridor specific plan consistency. And as part of that, as I stated just earlier, it's in the mixed-use sub-area. The mixed-use area in the San Pablo corridor is envisioned as is the bridge between the two big areas, the service area and the Old Town Pinole. The purpose of the CMU zone district is in the specific plan is to designate properties for commercial and mixed-use developments. While predominantly commercial, the designation provides for the integration of retail and service commercial uses with office and/or residential uses. Under Table 6.2 of the permitted use tables for San Pablo Avenue, CMU, and the mixed-use sub-area, personal restricted uses are required to have a conditional use permit. And of course, the owner submitted that application for request and approval tonight. The proposed business would occupy an existing tenant space. The applicant proposes minimal changes that would require building permits at this time and will follow standard building permit application submittal processes for making those improvements. As part of, just like your last item, the proposed use is consistent with the findings for conditional use permit approval under section 17.12140. Below are the required findings in italics, following by our staff report comments. So we went through actually, I'm going to kind of steal something, Dave. If you could put the findings up from the last item on the screen, that'd be great, because they're the exact same findings that had to be made for this project. So I appreciate that. As part of the proposed use is consistent with the general plan and any applicable specific plans. Staff reviewed the proposed use and determined that it's consistent with the general plan, specific plan, and applicable provisions of the zoning code as described above, as well as conditioned in Attachment A. The project is located on a site that accommodates commercial uses and contributes to maintaining employment and commercial opportunities along the San Pablo Avenue, consistent with the general plan and specific plan. As finding number B, the establishment, maintenance, or operation use applied will not, under the circumstances of a particular case, location, size, design, would be detrimental to health, safety, peace, morals, comforts. Based on staff review, the proposal includes a new use that contributes to a variety of businesses already established in different areas of the city, and that it would be compatible with its setting within a commercial area. The proposed use would operate within one of the existing tenant spaces within the existing building located at 1173 San Pablo. In terms of the site, use is physically suitable for the type and density and intensity of the use related. The proposed use does not involve any expansion of the buildings, nor are they expanding any of the tenant spaces that they're using. So everything that you see in the floor plan is all part of the existing tenant space, and so they would be just modifying that tenant space to allow for their business. Also, in terms of the building complex was designed to accommodate a variety of retail and commercial services, including more of the smaller scale studios, such as 16th Studio. A shared parking lot was approved for the complex and provides 35 spaces to serve its commercial tenants and visitors. It also has ingress and ingress on both San Pablo and Jones Avenue, so it combines a kind of like you can enter on either one of those. So it has all the pedestrian improvements are already in place and have access to the building from either Jones or San Pablo Avenue. The proposed use can be accommodated by all the existing facilities within the thing, meaning it's not going to exceed, trash for the trash enclosures. It's not going to expand the business. The use isn't going to have additional parking or any of those types of things. So that's pretty much on that one. In terms of finding D, it would be contrary to the specific intent clauses, development regulations, performance standards established for the zoning district, as described above in the general plan, specific plan. The project meets the intent of the general plan and specific plan. The project does not result in an expansion of structure, and it would meet applicable standards that apply as conditioned. So the proposed use is compatible with a variety of commercial establishments along San Pablo Avenue, and the location is served by the complex parking lot and facilities, promoting other modes, including sidewalk, and there is a nearby bus stop along San Pablo in that area. So what I want to kind of do right now, and I know the applicant is here, and they're going to probably give a more full detail description of the business, but I do want to kind of give a little brief description about the actual business now that we've gone through kind of the physical things of the building and the location and those types of things. So I just kind of want to kind of go over some of those areas as well. The business is a tattoo studio. However, most of the 16 studios, as they described, are world-class studio dedicated to refining the realms of body art, fine art, and artist education. So basically, it's also going to establish two things: a place for renowned artists and clients, meaning that the tattoo artists that are there are world-renowned. They provide one-of-a-kind basic tattoos and also commission custom pieces of art. So not only is it just the tattooing, but there's also an art component as well as part of this studio, as well as teaching. So they would also kind of be teaching the art of tattooing for other people. So it's more of a combined, and because it's by appointment only, it's a very controlled environment in terms of people just can't walk in off the street and say, hey, I want to be a tattoo artist and here are my lessons. Appointments have to be made with the studio. Licenses and certificates and all that have to be, they're going to have to be able to certify, which they did submit their own health certifications from Calaveras County in terms of environmental health. So it's more of a not just a tattoo place, but it offers other things, other art pieces and other things. It's basically serve as kind of like an incubator for creativity and innovation and for personal expression. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2504, approving 16 Studio with the 10 conditions that are associated with this project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. That ends my presentation, and we'd be happy to answer any questions from the commission. So that's all I have.
All right, so starting to my left this time, Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any questions for staff on this item?
No questions for staff.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian, do you have any questions for staff on this item?
No questions for staff. Thank you.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you have any questions for staff on this item?
I do. Thank you, Chair.
All right.
So staff, the questions I have are, if we can please go to page 38 of 131, please. And where I'm going to kind of pull out is item B. The establishment, maintenance, and operation of the use applied for will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, location, size, design, and operating characteristics, be detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of such use to the general welfare of the city. So I guess what I want to make sure that we're real clear about this is there is a residential house on one side of that property, and then there's residence on the other side. Additional to that, staff, I need to know, are there the units on the top of that complex, are those rented out units? So that's the first question I have for staff.
You mean within the commercial buildings?
Correct.
At this point, no. There are no rentals, at least to my knowledge, in the top of those buildings. And most of those uses on top are more for office uses than would say residential uses. So they're not really, even though they could be one time converted, but right now they're all set up to be professional offices.
Excellent. Thank you for the answer. Additional, my second question is, most folks that are going to get a tattoo, those tattoos tend to take hours. They're not something you can do pretty quickly. So I just want to make sure that it's a good idea to have annual review of the CUP to ensure that we do not have any loitering out there with folks smoking cigarettes, that kind of stuff, because that's a pretty tight area with those homes. And the last thing we want is to start getting calls of, loitering and things of that nature, which will impact the folks that actually live around there. Because this isn't, one of our traditional commercial properties where we have like shopping and all of that, right? Where there's people just naturally out there. That particular property's right between the residential parts, so there's not a lot of room. So we need to be conscious of those neighbors and make sure on the front end that we address that we make sure that there's no smoking, that there's trash receptacles, that we keep it clean, because it can impact their quality of life and the comfort of their community. So those would be the only two items that I would see that we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hui, do you have any questions for staff on this item?
Not at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Uch, do you have any questions for staff at this time?
No questions.
Commissioner Bender, do you have any questions for staff?
No, my question was asked by Commissioner Martinez.
All right, so I have a few questions, not a huge number. On page number 37 of the agenda packet, it states that massage therapy businesses fall under the specific plan land use classification of personal services - restricted. Is this a massage therapy business?
No, that needs to be. That was a mistake. I caught that towards the end of the thing. So no, even though they do require a conditional use permit, the massage therapy places do require that. However, there's no massage therapy being proposed at this location. That's a whole separate issue.
All right. So what category does this fall under? Just body art?
It's still tattooing does fall under the personal restricted category within the zone within the San Pablo corridor area specific plan. So that's table 6.2 in the specific plan, which calls for a tattoo place as a personal services / restricted.
Okay, so the specific plan doesn't explicitly ban that. It just says you need to take a closer look at it with a conditional use permit.
Yes.
Wanted to make sure about that. Let's see. There was another thing. There's one thing, but I'm a little bit unclear on, though this may be more for the applicant but staff. I'm not sure. But basically, looking over the written application basically provided by the applicant on pages 44 and 45 of the agenda packet. It says that the teaching studio isn't open to the public, obviously, but the studio is private, it requires reservations, so on and so forth. But there's also an art area that's open to visitors to explore different styles of art. Would those visitors be the people making appointments? Would that particular sub-area be open to the public, or would the entire building just be under appointments only?
The entire building would be under appointment. At least that's the way that was one of the questions I asked the applicant in the very beginning was who can come in, who can't. Unless they have an appointment, they cannot enter the facility.
Okay, so there's going to be an art space, but it's only going to be for people who have appointments there.
Right.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Okay, I think, let me do a quick check to make sure I don't have any other bullet points. I believe that's all of my questions for staff, so I will now open the public hearing. The time is 8:42, which is before 11 p.m.
Wait. Mr. Chair, before you, I'd like to answer Chairman Martinez's question prior to opening of the public hearing, so he can have some clarification.
Yes, okay.
So on condition 5, in terms of site maintenance, the applicant and owner shall ensure orderly maintenance of waste and other products associated with the operation. Maintenance includes coordination of pickup of clearance of items. What I can do, Mr. Vice Chair, is add an item that said yearly inspections of the facility will be required as part of this operation. Does
That will work. Thank you,
perfect?
Mr. Hannon.
All right, so now opening the public hearing at 8:43 p.m. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
Not a presentation, just definitely like to speak.
All right, and if persons wishing to speak in favor of the project are also asked to comment if the applicant doesn't wish to make a presentation. So is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the project?
Yes.
Go ahead.
As you can see, I've been dying to get up here since I got here. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Danae Steele, and I'm assisting with the opening of the business. And I'm a real estate broker. I've been on this project now for a few months and just really looking forward and anticipating the opening of this business. As you know, and you heard, that we're seeking a conditional use permit to open 16 Studio, which is a visionary body art studio. But it's not just a tattoo space. It's really a cultural destination. And Devon and Richard, they're internationally celebrated artists whose their work has drawn clients and admiration from really all over their world. And their presence in Pinole will elevate your city's visibility and enrich its cultural identity. They're committed to more than just tattooing, as you've heard, that they will offer workshops, mentorships, and custom art, all designed to inspire creativity and bring people together. They have a proven track record of creating inclusive spaces that uplift local voices and talent. The studio represents something greater than ink and skin. It's about expression, unity, and excellence. Approving this permit is a chance to open a new chapter, one of cultural enrichment, small business excellence, and artistic innovation. 16th Studio is ready to invest in Pinole, and our hopes are that Pinole is ready to proudly call them your own. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think that was maybe more applicant presentation, but are there any other persons wishing to speak in favor of this project? Are there any persons wishing to speak in opposition to this project?
No one's online right now.
All right, given as there are no persons speaking in opposition to the project, there's no need for the applicant to provide a rebuttal. I will now close the public hearing. And the commission can now discuss the item among ourselves and ask questions of the staff and applicant as appropriate. So starting from my right this time, Commissioner Bender, do you have any comments or questions for the staff or applicant on this item?
No comments or questions.
Commissioner Oosh, do you have any comments or questions?
No comment.
Commissioner Hui, do you have any comments or questions?
Neither at this time, thank you.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you have any comments or questions?
No, they were addressed earlier. Thank you.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian, do you have any comments or questions?
No comments or questions, thank you.
Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any comments or questions?
No questions. I do think that this would be an excellent, unique opportunity for Pinole. So thank you for choosing Pinole to open your business.
Thank you. So I guess I have a question more directly to the applicant. Even given staff's response to my earlier comment, it still seems like there's a bit of a conflict between basically having this private appointment-only space and also having it become sort of a cultural nexus where art is created and shared. How do you plan to, I guess, manage the balance between those conflicting goals to the extent that you see them as conflicting? And if you could go to the microphone, please.
Come on, Rich. We're better at art than we are talking, so we have her lovely agent helping us. So our main thing is being exclusive. Like that also brings value to what we do. We specialize in bringing artists into our space and help them curate their style, if that makes sense. So we won't necessarily be open to like just people can't just come. That's not the type of business we would run. It's more about like engulfing and enriching the local artists. They can come and they can create and use our platform on social media and the internet to get their work out there to the world too.
I see. So it's basically creating sort of a broader space for the local artist community, but not necessarily for the general public as such.
Right.
Okay, that clarifies my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And are there any further questions or comments at this point? All right. Do we need to make a motion to modify condition number 5 to include Vice Chair Martinez's suggested modification?
You can do that just with the motion of the project. You can do that you can do it with the motion of the project. Just say the condition number 5 to be amended to have yearly inspections.
All right.
For maintenance purposes.
Vice Chair Martinez, would you like to make that motion then? All right, I can do that. I'll move that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 25-04 for a conditional use permit for 16 studios located at 1773 San Pablo Avenue with condition number 5 as modified. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Uch.
Yes.
Commissioner Huey.
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
Yes.
Commissioner Bender.
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Yes.
Chair Menes.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Congratulations, and thank you for bringing your services to Pinole. And with that, we are now moving on to our new business, the Appian Village Final Map Consistency Review. So, Mr. Hannum, I believe you have another presentation for us.
Yes, I do. Hopefully we can get this one going here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight before you, we have a final map conformity report for Appian Village. So just kind of give you some background on the project. I know a lot of you are aware of it, but just kind of give you some background. March 21st, Inova Homes submitted an application for a comprehensive design review and a vesting tentative subdivision map to develop 154 units, residential units for sale project as known as Appian Village, which includes both market rate and affordable for sale homes. The project consists of stacked flats and townhouses distributed across 26 buildings. The 7.7 acre project site located at 2151 Appian Way consists of 2 contiguous parcels owned by 2151 Appian Way LLC. The site is bordered by the Maloney Reservoir to the north and Canyon Drive to the south, Paquito Court to the east, and Appian Way to the west, across street from the Pinole Middle School and the Magnet School. Man Drive intersects the northwest corner of the site at a 3-legged intersection. The project included, as part of the project included the demolition of the old Doctor's Hospital, which you've seen is now gone, and the redevelopment of the site into new residential neighborhoods. All 154 homes will be for sale, ranging in sizes from 1,200 to 1,800 square feet. Buildings 1 through 6 will feature stacked flats, units arranged above and below, and while buildings 7 through 26 will consist of townhome-style units side by side. The project will also include new infrastructure, including new water, sewer, storm drain connection within the project area, as well as new connections to our system. It'll also provide new curbs, gutters, and sidewalks with landscaping and pedestrian paseos, turf areas, a children's play area, as well as the construction of the fourth leg of the Man Drive and Appian Way traffic signal. Kind of give you some project milestones that has been happening over the course of the last couple of years since that approval's been taken. On April 11th, the Planning Commission adopted the Resolution 2201 approving the comprehensive design review, vesting tentative map, and a CEQA notice of exemption. On June 3rd, de novo Homes submitted applications for building permits for 3 buildings, as well as their grading plans, and all of their final map, lot closures, improvement plans, and other required documentation as part of that process. On March 25th, 2025, the city's land surveyor completed a review of the final map and the lot calculations to the project and the closures. And on March 25th, the building division confirmed that building permits phases 1 of the project were ready for issuance. Phase 1 of the project was buildings 1, 2, and 7. Right, Pete? Okay. The subdivision improvement agreement has been reviewed by our city attorney's office and is pending finalization with the bond amount. The subdivision improvement plans have been reviewed by the Public Works Department, and due to a transition in the Public Works Directors during this phase, the plans underwent an additional round of review. The current Public Works Director recommends conditional approval of the final map with an added condition discussed in the review and analysis section. The Public Works Director, Public Works staff, as well as de novo Homes met today to go over some of those improvements, and so we've got a good, real working relationship with them and can continue to move this project forward. To kind of give you the review and analysis of this project, it's basically the subdivision map and the subdivision map act and the Pinole Municipal Code basically govern the approval of the final maps, subdivision maps. The Appian Village subdivision map must complete several required steps before it can be recorded. The staff has outlined the necessary approvals from the Pinole Municipal Code. As part of the Municipal Code Section 17.16120, the city engineer must review the final map for consistency with the approved vesting tentative map. Additionally, state law requires that a licensed land surveyor approve the final map. For Appian Village, both the City Public Works Director and Land Surveyor reviewed the final map and the lot closures for consistency and recommend conditional approval of the final map as discussed below. Kind of give you the components of what the map is. The map identifies a number of different components for conformity, and that's kind of what we're looking for to make sure that the final map is in conformance with what you approved as part of the tentative map. So in terms of number of parcels, in the beginning of the tentative map, you saw 26 building parcels, and you saw parcels A through J for street and open space parcels. You also had total square footage of the parcels equaling approximately about 195,000 square feet between all the parcels. For parcels 1 through 26. Number of ingresses and egresses, you had 2, the one on Appian Way as well as the ingress and egress on Canyon Drive. Emergency accesses, the tentative map shows 2 emergency accesses, the final map shows 2 emergency accesses. And then the easements, the tentative map identified easements for different agency. The final map does, so in terms of the final map shows 26 building parcels and A through J for open spaces. The 2 maps are pretty much identical. The final map, so staff confirms that the map conforms with the final map conforms with the tentative map. In terms of the size of the parcels, the difference is approximately 1,162 square feet. I went through and did the measurements. From a percentage standpoint, that's basically zero. I mean, in terms of 0.003, like 3% difference. You're always going to have some difference because the final map is the more technical document. So it goes through where the tentative map kind of outlines where things are going to go. The final map locks them in of where they're going to go in terms of line movements, and you can kind of see that in your attachments as part of your tentative and final map. So, which staff determined that the final map does conform with the tentative map. In terms of number of ingresses and egresses, the final map shows the two accesses. As far as size of parcels on A through J, total square footage of those parcels is actually bigger, 127,000. So you can kind of see the refinement of the roads and and that's because A through J are the roads, the park or the open space features. So you can see on that area got a little bigger, and that was mainly for more of the refinements. But again, it's like 0.0 some odd % difference. So I was really surprised because I've seen a lot different sizes. I was really surprised of the closeness that these two maps showed. And most cities allow for either a 10 to 15% differential in some places, but in this case, we're well below that in terms of that. Emergency accesses, the final map shows the two emergency accesses. The one that's where the MRI building used to be, and there's another smaller one that's kind of between buildings 1 and 2. 1 and 2. There's a small EVA there. In terms of easements, the tentative map identified the easements for the different agencies. The final map, basically, they did that, but a little more technical, a little more precise in terms of, and all of the agencies were as well. And so staff is confirming that the final map conforms with the tentative map. So with that pretty much, when you look at the tentative map, and what staff included the preliminary grading plan and basically included the package. The reason why I included all of those is because that was part of the tentative map proposal. In terms of, for this, you only need the final map because most of the improvement plans are all approved by Public Works, and they don't, I mean, that's something that the Public Works Director and the home builder work out as part of the improvements. So the two big figures that you will be looking at pretty much are figures, the subdivision 9630, which is the Appian Village, and then the first page of the vesting tentative subdivision map. So basically, pages 80, I can't read that. It looks like 80. Page 80 and page 54 through 59. 54 through 59. Also, the other thing you'll see regarding the tentative and the final map is that the final map looks like it's broken out into phases, and basically staff does that. That is a normal look. I mean, we haven't seen final maps in a long time. The last time the city did a subdivision map of this size was probably in the 80s when they did Riverside or the Valley, the last probably Valley subdivision that was done. So just kind of give you some bearings on what these two maps are and what they're supposed to do. The tentative map just shows you the overall. That's the kind of like the 5,000 square foot, the 5,000 foot level, looking down onto the property and how the maps are going to thing. The final map was the subdivision 9630 in terms of that is on the ground, lines, making sure that all the parcels are lined up and all the streets and all that. So that's kind of the difference. And so you want to make sure that the final map conforms with the tentative map. So, and in which case staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 25-05, approving the conformity between the vesting tentative subdivision map and the final map of Appian Village. I do want to let you know that the conditions that you were approved in April of 2022 are still in full force and effect, all 129 conditions, as well as, so those are the conditions that were assigned with the map. So as part of the project. So those projects are still in full force and effect. And staff is recommending that you approve, recommending, recommending to the city council that the final subdivision map is in conformance with the vesting tentative map. So with that, that ends my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We have the applicant from De Novo Homes here if you have any questions of the applicant. And with that, that ends my presentation. Thank you.
All right, so since this isn't a public hearing item, I think we'll go ahead and combine questions for the applicant and questions for staff here, and then I'll open it up for public comment before further discussion among the commission. So starting right this time, Commissioner Bender, do you have any questions for the applicant or staff on this item?
No questions.
Commissioner Oosh, do you have any questions for the applicant or staff on this item?
I do have a question to staff. So on one of my questions, I was just curious on the conditions approval, which I believe on street improvements on reference to that page 72, which is the Appian Way and Canyon Drive plan line study. It shows that I know these are already in effect as you stated. For the bike lane, I noticed, is that going to be painted like the green, like how most bike lane infrastructure is? Just out of curiosity.
At this point, no, that wasn't part of it. It'll just be it'll be just a white striped line at this point.
Got it. All right. That's all my
With
questions.
a stencil, they'll have a stencil for the bike and standard to that bike lane.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Hui, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
I do not. Thank you.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
None at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Lamb-Julia, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
None at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
No questions, thank you.
I have some questions. So looking back at the maps, I remember, though my memory is not exactly 100% given as this was initially discussed all the way back in 2002, and it's been a few years since then. On page number, let's see, 66, I believe, sheet number 4 of the preliminary utility plan.
Oh.
Notes gas main line. Is that still implemented, or was that removed during the process?
No, it's still there. It's still there.
Okay, so the gas line is still there. Is gas going to be provided to the constructed buildings?
Yeah. This was not, or wait. No, it's not. No, it's all electric, but there is gas line required. I forget what, there was a gas line. I forget what, there were some gas components as part of the project.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Oh, sorry.
Buddy, my name is Pete. I'm with De Novo Homes. To answer your question, sounds like there may be two questions here. One, the project is all electric, so we're not providing gas facilities from PG&E to the project, but there are existing petroleum gas lines that do run along the Canyon.
That's right.
Canyon Drive side of the project.
Yeah, that's right. The gas lines. That's what I was.
So a question, those would just be more right-of-way where they've already existed to deliver the gas to somebody down the block or something along those lines, more of a utility, correct?
Yeah, so all those utilities are within existing easements that we are building around.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's a pre-existing utility easement, not something you're planning to link into or new construction.
Right.
That was one of my, linked questions, because I hadn't been assured that, it was an all-electric construction, but I wanted to double-check because of that line. Yeah. It's good to know, but, that's just a pass-through. Let's see. And I guess my other question is just with regards to sort of the minor changes in parcel size and road size. Are those mostly just for the easements, making sure there's enough space for things to pass through? Or are there other reasons that, you sort of shifted around the space for the given parcels?
I'll let you answer that, Dave. Or
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, it's just a matter of like because when they do a tentative map, they don't have, they're looking at how they're maximizing the property, at least from a tentative standpoint. It's not until you start putting the lines and start actually engineering the map and engineering the parcels that you really start getting into the exact location of the building sizes or the building parcels. Because the buildings aren't this whole size of that parcel. The buildings are actually going to be smaller than what the parcels are because of landscaping and all the other front yards and all the other stuff that's in there. So when you look at the final map and you look at the differences in the acreages or the square footages or whatever, there will be refinements from the tentative map to the final map, and so the final map is just showing the refinements that were made as part of when they start actually putting the lines on the property and outlining the parcels for all the purposes. For example, lighting, landscaping, they have to have complete, and they have to all be approved by a land surveyor, whereas a tentative map, the land surveyor isn't looking at line closures and lot closures. He's just looking at, the basic parcel diagram of what's being proposed, and then of course they come in and refine it with the final map. So you'll have differences on every tentative map and final map. You'll never have an exact 195 and 195. That's just because of when they start putting the lines on the property and start engineering them and land surveying out, there will be some differences. And like I said, I'm just surprised that this is so small. A lot of cities allow for like 10% differentials. So there could be, because from standpoints of it's only 10% of the project of the project. But in this case, it is far less than that. So I was really shocked when I was doing the math of how tight and how close you guys really were to being exact. So hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Yes, that answers my question. So
Okay.
Let's see. In that case, I will go ahead and open the comments from the public, basically, for this item. Does anyone want to speak on this item?
There's no one online to speak on it right now.
All right, then I will close comments from the public and return to the commission for any comments/intro questions to commission. So going the other direction this time, Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Lam-Julia, do you have any comments?
No comments, thank you.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you have any comments?
Well, I do have one question for the applicant, because I noticed recently when I was driving through that it appears that, I'm going to say the northern part of the lot, there was an existing X-ray MRI center there, right? And recently there's been some cutting in of the hill. Was that because when you acquired that particular parcel, it included more, so you had to cut into that hill to add the square footage you needed for one of the buildings? Is that can you enlighten us as to what took place there, please?
Yeah, our improvement plans, which are being constructed, as you can see, under existing permit, have a large retaining wall feature on that north side of the property. The property line does extend beyond that some ways, but to provide the necessary path of travel to access those buildings, there's a large retaining wall kind of sistered in with some of the stormwater water quality control basins that are in that area. So the recent excavation of the hill is to construct the CMU retaining wall.
Thank you. That's all that I had. Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Hui, do you have any comments?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Uch, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Bender, do you have any comments?
None.
So I have, I guess, a question for Commissioner Bender. In your professional opinion, is this, within the norm of variance between final maps and tentative maps?
I was not involved in residential, only commercial.
Fair enough. So in your experience with commercial, would this be within the norm of, how much variance there would be?
Probably.
Okay, just figured I'd ask, seeing as, you're the only architect on the commission who might be able to offer a different perspective than staff or the applicant.
Well, I'm comfortable with, in the staff report, the analysis was done by the staff regarding the differences. It seems all very legitimate, so to me, I don't see any issue.
Great, yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. So with that, we already addressed my question. I don't think I had any other comments. Let me do a quick double check here. No, all right, so for this particular motion, I think the wording might be a bit more important. So this is Planning Commission Resolution 25-01 with the Exhibit A, conditions of approval, which I'm guessing are just the 2022 conditions, because I'm not seeing a separate set of conditions. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Pinole recommending to the City Council conformity between the vesting tentative subdivision to the final subdivision for the APN Village APN 401-240-017 and 018 for the creation of parcels 1 through 26 and parcels A through J. Is that how the motion should be phrased?
Yes.
All right, then, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Then can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Uch,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Yes.
Chair Menes.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0 to approve the conformity of the APN Village final map with the tentative APN Village vesting tentative subdivision map.
Thank you for your time. All right, and with that, we are now moving on to the city planners / commissioners report. So, Mr. Hannum, you have anything to tell us?
Oh, I got lots of things to tell you guys. Basically, at the next meeting, I'll probably have a little more to tell you about the Planning Commissioners Academy that we attended with Commissioners Lamb Julian and Huey. It was quite the conference, and Chair Menes was there as well. So we'll bring a report to that. Other than that, right now we're working on hopefully bringing you the objective development standards here in the next month or so, and we're finalizing some of the document, and also parklets. Hopefully we'll have that coming before you fairly shortly. Staff is working on finalizing the local hazard mitigation plan annex and approval process, as well as the FRAP map that was approved by CAL FIRE. So I'm working on those items to get to the council. With that, and then we're continuing to work on our housing element implementation, all those. Justin and I probably might have some items for you in terms of some zoning ordinance amendments. And these are amendments that we have found that there's some inconsistencies throughout the ordinance, or there are items that are the standards that we're using are no longer applicable. So we're working on those and trying to get those to you here probably more towards the end of the summer. Also, I'm probably going to be bringing back, I did this probably about 3 years ago. I'm probably going to bring back what I call the Planning 101 series. And what I do is I'll bring back the general plan and the specific plan and just do a 30,000 foot level review of those documents and what they mean and that. And then we can have discussions on, what we think those documents are and where they need to be. So we'll be working on those, bringing those back to the commission here. Also at our second meeting, our next meeting, we will be doing the reorganization of the Planning Commission. So for all of you, look to see who wants to be chair and vice chair, and also on the ad hoc committee. So those items will be coming for you to your next meeting. And with that, that's all I have. So Justin, you have anything or? Okay, so that's all we have for staff, unless you have any questions about any projects that we'd be happy to answer for you.
Just a quick point of clarification on one of the acronyms. You mentioned FRAP map. What does that stand for?
Fire, I don't know the exact acronym. However, it is the fire severity maps that CAL FIRE puts out for all the jurisdictions within the state of California, measuring whether an area is either in moderate fire zone, high fire zone, or very high fire zone. And so they originally came out with the maps probably in about 2012, 2013, I think was the last one Pinole did. They've done an update to that map, and then but it's basically the fire rescue area protection zone. I'm not quite sure of the acronym, but we call them the FRAP maps. But basically, they're the
Fire and Resource Assessment Program.
There you go. All right, there you go. But they determine the elevation of fire hazard or the fire hazard within our community.
Got it. I'm still a little bit surprised that so much of Pinole went to moderate from very high, but that's more a question for ConFire and CAL FIRE, I suspect. Let's see. I had a question with regards to some of the other general plan elements. Do we have even a rough timeline for when the environmental justice and safety elements will be coming before the Planning Commission?
Yes and no. We're going to be doing a couple of things because of the safety element. We are including, and it's been a while since the public has seen the changes to the safety NEJ element, is that we're working with a consultant right now to put together a workshop, basically a 2 workshop session. One will be done by me at our planning commission meeting. The other one will be proposed by the consultant, MBI, probably at either the library or the senior center, just to have one more, take a look at the safety and go over just some preliminary stuff and then come back to you. So I'm hoping, and I think we have it on the calendar that is coming back in August, I think is when, or the second meeting in July to the commission and the first meeting in August. So it'll be in the next fiscal year.
So that would be the workshops, or what comes back after?
That's when it comes to the committee. We're hoping to get the workshop. Hopefully, going to have workshops because they pretty much have the draft documents. I mean, they've made some changes that were recommended by staff, by the ad hoc committee, by the public before when they were originally went out to the public, and all the surveys and all that. So now we're bringing back what I call the finished product workshop. So basically, it's the things that we worked on. So the workshops we're hoping to have in probably June or July, and then come back to the commission in either July or August, and to the council in the fall. So.
All right. So we'll basically be seeing them when they show up at the workshops.
Pretty much, yeah. Which the planning commission will be. We will have a workshop at I plan on doing a workshop at one of the planning commission meetings. So, which we can do. That's all we can do. That it doesn't have to. We can have it. Usually, it's the first hour of the meeting, first hour and a half or whatever, and then do our regular business items if we have any that night. But yeah, so we'll be doing that.
All right. So that was all the questions I have. Any commissioners have questions for staff on the report? Commissioner Lamb-Julian?
Is there an update on the community engagement subcommittee?
At this point, we haven't had any meetings of the community engagement committee subcommittee. However, it's an ad hoc committee, as we thought. And right now, we have Commissioner Sandoval and Commissioner Lamb-Julian are on that committee. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Okay. We could schedule a meeting whenever you guys are available, and we can kick that off. And for those of you that weren't on the commission, that was a committee or ad hoc committee that was put on to look at expanding the view of, to the public out for planning commission issues, as well as taking in comments from the public for the planning commission and how to get more and to recognize more more things that are happening within the city. So that's something that we need to meet on and do that. So
I believe the last communication we had was waiting for feedback from interim city manager about moving forward about what we had proposed and we had discussed earlier. We just didn't hear back.
Okay, well, let's get together and meet and kind of go through that one more time, and then I will, now that we have not an interim city manager, but a city manager, we can then move forward with that.
Do we have an update about Safeway, since I think I saw they were auctioning off their...
Yeah, the Safeway is now closed. It's an update. We have been. I don't mean to make light of that subject, because it's. We've been trying to work with the developers and getting an idea of what they are planning. We have been unsuccessful in getting that information. They've been very tight-lipped, close to the vest type of. For us. Even Lily tried to meet with them at the ICSC meeting, and they really didn't have a whole lot of ideas or what was going on down there. So, and ICSC is the International Conference of Shopping Centers, which Balboa, that's the new retailer. They are the new owners of that property. So they've been really tight to the vest. We've been trying to get meetings with them to go over of what's going on with that center now that their major tenant is now gone. So, what are they doing out there? So, so that's what's going on right now with Safeway. So we're still trying to push and get with them to see what they're planning on doing.
Okay, because I think, there was a notice from Balboa that they were auctioning off and selling off shelving and all of the interior supplies. And half of the tenants did not get renewed, and half did get their lease renewed. And they're not really sure what's going, if the city has any information about that.
Like I said, now they've been very tight-lipped with us. We've been trying to get them to at least give us some clue. I mean, even if we were to get information, I wouldn't be able to release it, but just to get in front of them, and we haven't been able to get in front of them at this point. So we're still trying to make that happen.
Okay, thank you. I'm complete.
All right, so let's see. Commissioner Sandoval, do you have a question?
Yeah, just piggybacking off Commissioner Lamb, Julian, and the Safeway. Is there anything that we as a commission could do about that, potentially?
I mean, you could reach out to Balboa. I mean, I don't know from that standpoint, or if there's something that the commission wants to do as a whole to kind of tell the city council that they're interested in something. That's something. But other than that, I don't really know what else we could do to spurn them to move forward with something. But
okay, good to know. Thank you. That's it for me.
All right.
Vice Chair Martinez, any questions?
Well, now to piggyback off of Commissioner Sandoval, I guess in a perfect world, folks, what I'd like, if at all things being equal, is for us maybe not to wait so late that something's brought before us after it's already packaged up in the approval, right? And I've said this many times before, because where that Safeway is, and where they put the car wash and the Big O tires, the previous developer never played to the strength of that location. When you're up on that property, it has some of the most beautiful water views up there. So if you take a drive up there and park your car, and so I would hope that before we get another package deal brought forward to us, that we would maybe ask the city staff to really talk to Balboa and put forward some ideas to make sure that if something is brought before us, that they really give some thought to the beauty of that area and making sure that they flip things around so that everybody can enjoy the views and it not be the back of the buildings that are facing all that beautiful water view up there. So getting ahead of it instead of behind it when something's already packaged and maybe not done to its strength, I think that might be something I would be in support of. Thank you.
Yeah, also to piggyback off Vice Chair Martinez again, I definitely think that we as a commission should think about like what we could do. I'm sure that we have ideas for unique opportunities for there, especially when it comes to redeveloping the entire shopping center, basically. And I'm pretty sure that we probably have ideas as to who we'd like to see come to Pinole and what kind of even though we're not kind of like a policy making body, but what we could potentially recommend to the council that they do. I think that if the commission came together as a whole, that might be send a message to the council, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, from a planning commission perspective, I mean, you guys are mostly design and standards and, that kind of, that aspect of the project. So, I mean, if there's something that, as a whole that you'd want to wish or you'd want to pass on to the council from your perspective, from the planning commission, we can do that. If in terms of, uses and people coming to the city, I mean, that's kind of, there's a whole science supposedly to that in terms of, households, daily trips, average daily trips, peak trips, credit card ability, or, there's a lot of things data they can pull to see what would go in that space. We've made some recommendations of what we'd like to see in there in terms of, what type of uses, in terms of whether it's grocery or it's, another, residential. I mean, whatever that, because, it does have a high density overlay on the property as well, and some type of mixed use development on that property. So, I mean, we've given them a lot of the zoning code stuff. We've given them a lot of, they have the Pinole Square design, not to say the Pinole Square is all end all be all, but they do have all those drawings as well. So, I mean, I'm hopefully, they come back with something that, that the city would like. But I mean, if there's something that, to get out in front, I mean, if there are suggestions that the planning commission would want to make as a whole, then, and recommend to the city council, or it's, just kind of, give to the city council, it might be something we what you might want to do. So knowing that you're probably going to see the combined package, the final package, whatever that is, knowing that, but if hopefully we can get out, like you said, get out in front of it, kind of give them an idea of what we're looking for, in terms of project, stuff, maybe that they can, in their pursuit of different tenants and filling the center, and redoing the center, that, they have some of those in mind.
Before we go any farther with this item, I just want to be a little bit cautious that we're not going over the Brown Act line between discussion and action on an item that wasn't formally agendized. Are we still within a safe space for that?
We are, because I'm not recommending that you do anything, and I don't, that's something that if you want to put on a future agenda or something like that item, we're just, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not recommending doing that. I'm just saying it's within your privy to do that, whatever that is. And I'm not putting in particulars of what it is you need to say, but knowing that you have to stay within the parameters of the Planning Commission, I mean, that's just part of the deal. So I don't think we're violating the Brown Act, at least at this point. And I don't think we're setting there has been no standards of what that's going to say or what that letter would say or what they would do or anything like that. So that would be a whole separate agenda item that would need to be put on the agenda, and what you would want as if the commission wants. I mean, the commission would need to take a vote. Is that something that the commission would want to do, before any type of language can be proposed or anything like that? Because I'm not proposing any language. I'm not proposing anything at this point. It's whether or not you want to do that, or maybe put it on an agenda sometime to discuss.
Okay, because it sounds to me a bit like what Vice Chair Martinez and Commissioner Sandoval are suggesting is the creation of sort of a scenic vista classification for that site. Is that roughly?
No, I mean, I'm gonna kind of answer for you guys. Don't no offense, but no, I mean, they're just making sure that the uses that they provide, provide some of the ambiance of the area. If I misspoke, please tell me that I'm misspeaking. But from what I understand from your guys' comments, is just basically the uses that are being put in place, whatever those are, that they maximize the vistas that are there. Not necessarily declaring it a scenic vista, but just to make sure they take advantage of all the particulars of the property.
So, Vice Chair Martinez and Commissioner Sandoval, is that an accurate interpretation of your suggestions?
Yes, for me.
No, for me, actually. That wasn't exactly what I was referring to.
I was just kind of thinking of like what we as a commission would kind of think about as a potential future agenda item, or we could potentially draft where we could have a resolution in a future agenda item, obviously, with some potential solutions or things that the commission as a whole would like to see. I think that if there's appetite for it, we can definitely throw out some ideas and just talk about those later.
If that's something that the commission would want to do, what I can do is put an item on the agenda for you to discuss it, and just depend on what you want to do with that, and not necessarily have any language, but actually have an agenda item to discuss kind of what Commissioner Sandoval was talking about. So we can't do it tonight. We're not going to have that discussion tonight because it's not on the agenda, but at least put an item on the agenda to kind of do what Commissioner Sandoval is doing, to have a discussion and to talk about what you would want to do.
So Commissioner Sandoval, do you want to move that item?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to add a future agenda item for the Planning Commission to discuss potential resolutions or policy solutions that we'd like to recommend to the City Council for a future meeting.
Could you please state which location where?
For the Safeway project, the former Safeway project.
I would like to second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Given as this is a future agenda item, I don't think discussion is actually permitted. So can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Uch.
Yes.
Commissioner Huey.
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
Commissioner Lam Julian.
Yes.
Commissioner Bender.
Yes.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Yes.
Chair Menes.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, so are there any further questions of staff with regards to the city planner's report?
Careful.
All right, so then we're moving, Commissioner Bender.
I just have a question for staff. I noticed that the marathon sign is up and it seems like that project is complete. But one thing I did notice is the lights that were on the side of the building facing the residential street. Those lights are still there. And I thought we were requesting, when we passed that motion, that be addressed.
Yeah, we had reached out to the applicant as well. They had their building permit. It's not finalized yet, so one of the requirements to final that building permit is to address the lighting issue that we brought to them again.
Okay, great.
Thank you for following up on that. Commissioner Bender, are there any further questions of staff? All right, so then we'll go ahead and go over commissioners' reports as opposed to communications. So I think for this particular sub-item, commissioners' reports would be things like reporting back on the Planning Commissioners Academy if you felt like it. So starting with Commissioner Sandoval, do you have anything to report?
No.
Commissioner Lam Julia, do you have anything to report?
I thought we were going to discuss the Commissioners Academy next meeting.
Sure, I know that Planning Manager Hannah was going to be discussing his part in it next meeting. I just wasn't sure whether any commissioners wanted to discuss their individual parts in it now. If you don't, that's fine. It can wait.
I can make that report in connection with Planning Manager Hannah. Are we doing communications as well or no?
Communications is after we're done going through this chunk because it's possible somebody's going to want to comment on it.
Okay, I'm complete. Thank you, Chair.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you have anything to report? None. Commissioner Hui, do you have anything to report?
I would just like to state that I also attended the Planning Commissioners Academy, and I will participate in any report outs that's required by our planning manager.
Thank you. Commissioner Uch, anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Bender, anything to report?
Nothing.
And I'll report out that I was able to attend part of the Planning Commission Academy, not all of it, due to various unfortunate events involving hotel rooms and falls and various other things. But I'll discuss that further when the report back on the Academy occurs at a future meeting. Are there any public comments on the city planners or commissioners' reports?
There's no one online right now.
All right, so then we're going to go ahead and move on to communications. So going the other direction, Commissioner Bender, do you have any communications?
No.
Commissioner Oosh, do you have any communications?
None.
Commissioner Hui, do you have any communications?
No.
Vice Chair Martinez, do you have any communications?
None.
Commissioner Lam Julian, do you have any communications?
None. Thank you.
Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any communications?
No.
I have a communication. I think the city's having coffee with the cops this Wednesday over at the Starbucks over at Kaiser. It's shifted around a bit the past couple days. But more importantly, there's going to be the big Earth Day thing this Saturday, the 19th, over at Fernandez Park. Sign up for the Earth Walk in advance, and I think the first 100 people get a free metal straw if you're interested in that sort of thing. And that's all my communications for the moment, I think. Oh, yes, right. Tomorrow, April 15th, is tax day. So if you haven't started working on that yet, I would strongly encourage that you do so. That's all my communications then. So are there any comments from members of the public on this item?
No one's online right now.
All right. In that case, I've got, I guess, one more communication. A while back, we requested a future agenda item on the PAL program, I think, and permitting requirements associated with that. Will that be at our next meeting or at some future one?
After talking with our community development director, it'll probably be at the next one. If it's not, then it'll definitely be the one after that. So we talked about it at our last meeting, so it's coming up shortly.
Great. Just wanted to make sure to follow up on that point. All right. In that case, our next meeting will be the Planning Commission regular meeting on April 28th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And I'm reasonably certain that meeting will in fact happen. And I now adjourn today's meeting.